Hi guys, I welcome you back again. So it's been long time we met since our last class. So before proceeding with a new topic, we will be discussing our previous topics on a very brief note. Like we will be going through a quick recap on every topic that we have learned so far. So let me share my screen first, and we'll take back to you in an application page. I believe my screen is visible. Please respond, guys. ओके सो हम लोगों ने लास्ट क्लास में क्या क्या देखा था एकदम स्टार्टिंग से हमने फर्स्ट सेशन में सीखा था कि डायनामिक्स क्या है, इसका ज़रूरत क्या है, इसका इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है, सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है, और ये मार्केट पे क्यों इतना मतलब तेज़ी से आगे बढ़ रहा है. वाई what is the means like why is it so special that everyone is jumping into dynamics uh, in this today's business environment. So we have seen all those presentations by presentations, and in our second topic, we have seen this screen. Like we have jumped into the application, and we have explored the home screen. So this is the home screen, as you already know. This is your banner, which we can change while creating a legal entity. We will be seeing how we can do that. Uh, this is a calendar. This is not just a simple calendar. Through this calendar, you can do, you can change the session date, which means like if you want to carry out some backdated transactions, then simply you can just come down to this calendar in your home screen, and you can select any of the possible dates. Say for example, the three on the 3rd of June you were supposed to do some transaction, but for some other cases you have missed the transaction. Then simply you can come down to this calendar and select these three, double click on it, and a pop-up message will arrive like if you want to change your session date to 3rd of June 2024. If you click on yes, then what it will tell system that today is the 3rd of June and you can carry out any transaction if you wish to. Means like you can act normally and do your normal operation, considering the fact that today is the 3rd of June, not 9th of June. Okay, so this is the uh, actually importance of this calendar. So let me change the date back to 9th, so that we can carry out our normal transaction in today's date. Okay, so this was the interface, and these are the few small tiles. Like uh, if I don't wish to jump into the modules or follow n number of steps to land up into my required page. So what I can do, I can just do some kind of customization, self customization, and bring those modules and pin it up here in my home screen section. Okay, now there is one small section which indicates like work items assigned to me. Work items assigned to me in the sense like if sometimes your profile is of some kind of manager role or some kind of project lead role, then you will be assigned to some tasks that require some kind of approval in some of the other cases. Now, since this is my admin page, so I can see a lot of work or task that has been assigned to me which requires some kind of approval. So maybe I approve for travel requisition, or if there is any kind of catalog that needs approval to be designated into the system, or some kind of expense report that records need to be returned. So based on the requirement or based on the approval workflow, a few tasks will be assigned to you where you can directly jump into that particular section and carry out the task, like do some actions as per your requirement. If you feels like okay, I need to do the approval thing, then just click on it and do some kind of approval things from this section. So we will be not dealing with all these things at this moment. We are just simply exploring the interface, right? So this was all about the home screen, and in the setting section you can do some kind of additional setting task. Like if you click on user option, you will be getting a good number of options where you can change the theme color. Suppose for example, if I'm clicking on this magenta color, my application color theme will be changed to something different. Now also you can define the size. Currently this, if I select this bigger size, then you can have a good visuals of your menu list, all the menus and tags that is available in your section in the module list. Like for better visibility, who has some weak site visibility, for those people, the size section is very much important. Now currently I don't have any such issue, so I will be rolling back this particular setting to a normal one. Okay, so I'm doing this by selecting the normal grid view. Means it indicates like these are the small views. Your data or the menu list will appear on a smaller size as compared to the bigger one. Now these are the preference section where you can do some kind of changes. The changes in the sense like whenever you will be logging into the application, what you can do, you need to first change your entity, like what entity you are currently working in, or for what entity you are currently doing the configuration. So changing that company is very much important. So where you can do that, you can change from this menu list or from this field where a certain company name will be visible in the very beginning, and that directly impacts this particular preference menu. What it means like, if you select any of the organization account in this company section, so in the next time when you will be again relogging into the system, by default that company will be logged into the system, which means that you will be inside that uh, company only, which you will be asking the system to tag it in this particular label. So let me do one example. Say for example, I have one company which has been created by me only, that is ABC Motors Private Limited, that is totally created by me. I will select it and I will instruct the system. So AB01 is the company code for this particular dynamics only. Just remember guys, this particular code is nothing to do with the real life system. What does that mean? So whenever you will be working in a real time environment, you need to configure first a legal entity. The very first configuration you have to do is the creation of legal entity or the creation of the company. Then only you will be able to perform a business transaction. Now again, what does that mean? A quick recap. Suppose your company name is some XYZ Motors, or let me take this motors example. Okay, this is your company. Now what you want to do simultaneously, you want to perform some kind of business transaction in the sense like, you might be having a vendor, okay, from whom you will be purchasing a spare parts, okay, and parallelly you will also be having a customer to whom you will be selling your own product, right? Hope I'm clear. So you being the main entity or you being the main organization, you have to deploy yourself into the system on a very first note. Then only you will be able to create your vendor as well as your customer. Then only the entire trading process will occur. So for this reason only, what we need to do, we need to create our organization first. So in terms of dynamics, or in terms of dynamics terminology, organization means legal entity. Both defines the same thing, but we use two different words to describe, one in a generic way and one in terms of application. Okay, so in our further classes we will be using the term legal entity rather than organization. Okay, so let me go back to my application once again. So this startup indicates like when your system will be starting or your application will be starting up after logging in. The company that is going to load on a first place will be the company which you will be selecting here. Okay, so I have given my company, that is AB01. So AB01 is nothing but just a company code to identify the company or legal entity in this particular dynamic system. It has nothing to do with the real life organization, or yeah, it has nothing to do with the real life organization or real life transactions. It's just the code for which you can identify your own organization in the dynamic system. Now initial page, it indicates like what should be your initial page that appear when you will be starting up your organization. So I want my default dashboard means like, as I have shown you, let me duplicate this tab and go back to my home. So once I reach home, so this is my default dashboard page. What does this dashboard include? Like a combination of calendar, banner, where my legal entity name will be appearing. Okay, a calendar and some kind of work items list and to-do list. All these things will appear. So this is known as the default dashboard. So I want my dashboard to appear as a default dashboard. Okay. Now default view or edit mode, you can just give as an auto. Based on the configuration, auto configuration, it will be appearing, our dashboard will be visible in that particular way only. Yeah, now the next thing is language. In which language you want to run your application? Obviously it should be in English and in the US standard location, not in European. Now if you wish to set your date, time and number format, you can do that. Otherwise we will leave it blank. We don't want to do that. Time zone, on which time zone you are located, you can give that. And country, you can change your own country. Now since this DAT is some kind of not actually organization, it's a part of an organization, or you can say sub entity, sub legal entity. For this dat also this dat is a demo company that has been given by us Microsoft. So what we need to do, we need to change it to our own legal entity. So based on that, your country region will be appearing. So if my company is based out in US and I have configured my company in such a way that it is a US based, then by default country will also appear as a USA. Okay. Now on the other hand, you don't have to bother about other all this option. You can just simply skip and move ahead. Now in the account section, there will be some system related information like what is your user ID, what should be your name. Let me give my own name. It will be blank by default, and you can use your own name. Then what is your email ID? What is the network domain it is using, telemetry ID. These are all some kind of technical aspects we should not bother about. And email provider selection, how this email ID should be given. These are also, so these are all some kind of technical things, and these are being taken care by none other than our system guy, who is designated as a system administrator for particular Dynamics 365. Okay, so the system administrator is a separate branch of and or separate designation, which is entirely different from our functional role. So we as a functional consultant will be only concerned about how to configure the system in terms of business, like how we should convert our business, into a technical prospect, so that we can get some kind of profit out of it while running a business using this particular system. Okay. Now, workflow is something which is related to a hierarchy. Suppose there are 2 to 3 stage where a company has been designed. For example, on the very top or at the very bottom, executives are sitting. Now, just above executive, one level of seniority, there might be a senior executive. Now, above senior executive, there might be someone who is assistant manager. Okay, so above assistant manager, it will be a regional manager or regional team lead, whomsoever. So these are the hierarchies that commonly all organization follow. So in that case, when there is any transaction occurs in the system, so based on the level on which the employees are working, suppose this executive belongs to a account department who is only responsible for doing accounting entries. Now he is only responsible for creating a transaction, and he is not authorized to complete the transaction. Complete means to post any kind of transaction. Posting of the transaction means whenever you will be concluding your transaction, means this transaction has been done and accounting impact has been made in our books of account. So in some cases these executives are not allowed to perform the final stage of this accounting transaction. Then what happens, they do create a workflow means once executive has created the transaction, now this and this executive is submitted for approval. So the senior executive will be the next guy who is responsible for validating the transaction process. Now if all the transaction is okay, again then he will approve the same. And this senior executive also don't the senior executive is also not authorized to complete the final transaction. What he will do, he will just approve the transaction, and once it is approved, it will reach to either assistant manager or regional manager. So these two guys might be responsible for completing the transaction. Means one senior executive has provided the green signal, like okay, the transaction that has been entered by the executive is totally fine, and I validate and approve the same. Once this senior executive approves, this assistant manager only will again revalidate all those transaction process, and if found okay, he will complete the transaction by posting it. Now once posting is done, all the transaction will be recorded into the books of account. Okay, so to design such workflow, you can use this parameter, and you can enable some kind of option. In fact, workflows are designed in some other modules which we may not be covering because these are some kind of technical things, and we as a functional guy hardly do any such kind of activities. So basically the solution architect or system administration, all those people are responsible for creating such workflows. Okay, so if we want to create such workflow, we can enable these options here, and we can directly go back to the system. Now once all these things are done, we will click on save. Now once this page has been saved, now what changes we can see, we can only see once we sign out from this application and re-log in again. So let me do the re-login. Just a second. Do you have any question till this position? Okay. See, in our first login page, when the system has started up, our company code has changed by default to AB01. Okay, so this was the impact that has made when we have changed the company from DAT to AB01 in the startup page. So now what we will do, we will quickly see how we have created our first configuration, like creation of legal entity. So to create a legal entity, as you, if you can remember, like we need to go to a certain location, and or we need to follow some certain steps. Okay, so this is the module list, as I have told you in the interface only, with the help of this breadcrumb bar. If you click on this, or either you click on this module link, so a list of modules will be available to you. So we will be dealing with only the finance part. So let's see first of all how we can create our legal entity. On a very brief note, I will be not going again into details because recordings are already available for that. So just for a quick recap, I am just doing a fresh uh, refresh of everything so that you can quickly remember everything. So my first step is to go to the organization and administration module. Remember, this is a module. So if you click on it, so you will be getting lots of sub modules inside one particular module. So the best practice to search for anything is, first of all, you need to collapse all the menus. Okay. So once you collapse, you will be getting all the header sub menu. So from this sub menu, you can go where you want to. Now, for example, I want to create a legal entity. So what we will do, I will go to organization administration, collapse all the menu, and I will check for organization, and with this option is legal entity. So for creating a legal entity, we need to follow three-step navigation. What is the three-step? First, come down to organization administration. Second step is to click on organization, and the third step is legal entity. So click on it. So once you click on it, you will this is a global page, and you can see all the legal entities that has been created in this particular existing system. So basically, this is a demo environment. So all the legal entity which is available at this moment has been given to us by Microsoft only. That is a predefined set of legal entities as per the country codes. Say for example, this whichever Contours of Consulting, GLSI, maybe it's a German legal entity. This is for France, FR. This is GB, maybe for European countries, US for United States, CN for China, JP for Japan. Okay. So for based on the different countries, BR for Brazil, D Denmark, IN for India, MY for maybe I just Myanmar, or I don't know, maybe some kind of other specific countries that might be dealing of. MX, RU, Russia, South Africa, SF, Thailand for TH, US again for United States. So all the legal entities that is available in the demo environment are specifically based on a country wise. So you can refer to any of the legal entity throughout your tenure, and you can check what kind of policies or the business that runs throughout the globe in any specific countries have the configuration in it. Okay, so now since we are dealing with our own customized or own custom made legal entity, so we will be working out here only. Okay, so to create a legal entity, what we need to do, you need to click on new. So if I click on new, first of all, At initial stage, you need to give your legal entity name, company code, the company code that I already told you, like this is the EB01. So this code you need to give here by your own. It won't auto populate or auto generate in this section. You have to think of and give it your own, so that in a later stage you can just identify your company in the system. Okay. And which country this legal entity belongs to, you need to just give the country code. Okay. Once you have given all these details, you need to click on OK. Once you click on OK, you will get this page. So in this page, you need to do some certain kind of configuration. So in the general fast steps, so guys, these are the fast steps. Do remember once again. Okay. So all the tabs that are opened here are known as fast step. So this general address, contact information, statutory reporting, and all these things. So here one by one you need to check, and you need to fill up all the details that are being provided to you by your client or any of your company which is approached you for configuration. Just remember, without any details received from the client, no other details we will be filling it up in the system. Okay. Because the system is after all going to be used by your client only, or the company that has approached you for configuration, or the company that will be using this ERP product. Okay. So in that case, our company might be some ABC Motor Private Limited. So ABC Motor Private Limited has approached us. Let us think of some kind of hypothetical scenario or case study. So ABC Motor has approached us, and they have given us our business requirement, given us how their businesses runs, and we have received all the details by constant n number of meetings. And with that details, now we are going to create their company into the system. So starting with that, we will be creating a new legal entity, and we'll be landing up in this page after filling up some kind of basic details. Now what we will do, we will be checking out all the first step, and if there is any information related to the information that has been provided to us by our legal entity, then we are going to fill it up. Okay. Now memo means the description of the company, like what this company does and what is the tagline of the company. Anything you can provide in this memo. Search name will appear by default as soon as you create your own legal entity. If it is used for financial elimination process, it should be selected yes, and definitely I'm going to tell you what this impact makes on in the later stage, not now. Now for the time being, just remember that this should be used as a for financial elimination process, and this works when we will be doing some kind of year end closing process. Okay. Language is the most important part. Again, you need to define your own language, like for what is the language that this company is following, obviously en us, because I have already given this entity belong to a us. Okay, I have defined the country as us for this particular company. Now filling it up, you need to check your address first step. So I've given 2 3 addresses, like one is in Portsmouth, this is the hit company. Another business, another two business entity or the branch exist in the same country only. So I've given 3 different address location for this particular legal entity on a same country. I have not given any branches that belongs to other countries. So okay, I have kept it simple. The configuration is very simple. Now for contact information, you need to provide some kind of contact information for any spokesperson who to whomsoever they will be representing the company. So let me give you a brief detail, like I have given Mr. XYZ whose phone number is available, and Mr. PQR whose email address is available. Okay. Now statutory reporting we don't require it in this case because I have not received any information from my client, and this might not be a required one. And if this is a required one, then the client will provide you the details, and if it is not, then you can leave it blank. There might be some kind of registration number, maybe or food processing or something like that. And again, that depends on country, like which country you belong to. Now suppose if my company would have been belong to Japan or France, then based on the country which I selected, this parameter will be activated. Otherwise, since this company belongs to us, as I have indicated that my entity belongs to us, so all the other options which is required by a specific state will be disabled, because in Japan reporting, there are some kind of document which requires like accounting personnel. Now, this accounting personnel is not so mandate for US, so it will be automatically disabled because the filter has been made out to the US only. Means the country is US, so all the other countries option will be disabled apart from all the option that is mandatory for US. So in that case, initial capital, you can mention like I am starting my business with the initial capital of, say for example, 40 or 4 crore. Okay, some kind of amount you can provide, a hypothetical number. So this is my initial capital from which I have started my business. Then you can mention your initial capital here, and rest other thing will be closed out other than this tax regime. So you can, so once we when we will be configuring the tax setup process, we will see that how this tax regime brings impact into this legal entity page. Now for the time being, now we will leave it blank. Now, in this first step, we can give some information that is related to bank only. So the routing number, central bank purpose code, and the rest other thing, the bank account, zero account. Zero account is something which is very specific to country only, that is US based. So other than that, if it is India, there will be some option which will be disabled for us. Means in fact, it will not be visible into this page only. Since this is a US based, so all the bank information which requires for or US entity to run, those options will be available here. Okay. So based on the information, again, I'll be repeating the same thing. Like if the customer provides us this information, we will be filling it up. Otherwise, while performing a bank configuration or creating a bank into the system, while doing the configuration, we will set up those process into that bank module only, not here. Foreign trade and logistic, this first step somewhere belongs to a different module that is known as trade and logistic, so we won't be touching it since we are a finance consultant and we should be focusing only on the finance part. And if it is very much important, then we will be reaching out to our trade and logistic guy and we will ask for some kind of support. And if it is not so required, we will leave it blank. Okay. Number sequence, again, it's a very important part of the process. We need to create some number sequence. Means you need to provide some kind of additional identity number for any kind of transaction or for any kind of master record you will be creating. Now, since I have already created a number sequence for this legal entity, so you can see there are few of the number sequence list that is available here, that is which is only be responsible for this particular legal entity. Okay, say for example, system ID, contact ID, there might be some account identity number may be listed out for all the contact ID which we might have implemented into the system for this particular legal entity. So there will be some kind of unique number through which we can track all the information. Okay, so number sequence is basically what it will generate a unique ID number, and with the help of that number, what you can do, you can track those transactions or you can track those information. So again, number sequence setup will be done on a separate module. We will see that, not in a separate module, but actually in organization administration only. We will see that, but that the process is different. So other than that, we can see dashboard image. If you want to change the dashboard image, you can do that from this other. This is the dashboard image or the banner which we are seeing. If you want to change it, obviously different company might be having different dashboard images, so they will provide you as per the settings requirement. They will know, or you need to provide the measurement of this dashboard, like how it should appear, and you can change it. How you can change it? You can click on this drop down link and you can click on banner. So once you click on banner, you need to click on change. Once you click on change, a pop-up box will arrive. From here, you need to browse your system and select the banner where it will be located. It's just a normal upload process. Okay. So once you select and click on open, the file will be uploaded here, and an OK button will be enabled in this particular section. And if you click on OK, your banner will get changed. Okay. Now every company will be having a logo, so how you can implement that logo into the system, or how you can deploy that logo from this first step only. Same process, click on change. Click on browse, again the normal pop-up dialog box will appear. From here you can select the image, click on OK. A logo will appear in the screen, and now the logo will be appear in the uh, means initial dashboard page of the screen. So here let me duplicate the page. Let me show you how and where this logo will appear. So if I go to home page, so this is the page you will be getting in your starting. So this is the banner only, and here instead of ABC Motor Private Limited, your logo will appear. Okay. So once logo is done, this print destination default is something defining as screen or PDF file. What does that indicate? Like whenever you will be confirming any transaction, so before confirming or posting the transaction, a pop-up screen will appear confirming the same, that like you have created the transaction in this so and so lines. Here it will be and it will appear in such a way. So if you want to confirm, you need to click on OK. Means an additional validation page where you can confirm whether your the transaction that has been created by you is okay or not. So this is what indicates the print destination default. So it should be always on the screen. Now if you select PDF, instead of showing it on the screen, it will automatically download one PDF, and you need to go to download every time and check the PDF whether all the thing is okay or not. So instead of doing all those tedious tasks, what we will do, we will click on the screen, and whatever confirmation page appears, it will appear directly on the screen, so that we can confirm directly from there on. Okay. And the other part is not so much of requirement in a very initial phase. These are again depends on company to company. If you have such information for a regulatory establishment, if you have any factory, or if you have any other industrial um, objects that you want to record in the system, you can do that. Otherwise you can leave it blank. If the company provides, so then you have to do that. Otherwise if company says that we don't have such kind of any entity, then you can just leave it blank. Tax registration, again this is a very short form, we don't do anything here. We will be setting up the tax in a tax module, and tax 1099 is a special tax tab that is applicable only for US. This is in addition to your normal tax. What does that indicate? That there are some provisions where you have a certain parameters, like if your earning is exceeding that much a portion, you need to pay some kind of additional tax in the name of 1099, and you have to provide some kind of 1099 ID, that is federal tax ID, and you need to enable some kind of uh, this menu list, so that 1099 tax gets activated into the system, and it should calculate the tax 1099 separately. So these are the setups that needs to be mandatorily be done while registering your legal entity. Now guys, do remember, like if in near future, if you are planning for any interview for this particular functional consultant position, always remember there will be a very first question. That's a very common question with my own experience, like what is the mandatory setup to create a legal entity. Now the question itself is a tricky. So he is asking about what are the mandatory setup to create a legal entity. Okay. Now 99% of the people will answer like, we will go to organization administration, we will come down to organization, we will click on legal entity, and we will fill up all the details that are required for the legal entity to be established. And once we are done, we will click on save, and thus our legal entity creation is done. No, the answer is totally wrong. The question itself indicates that what are the mandatory setup to create a legal entity. Means not only creating a legal entity, means what are the necessary steps you need to cover up, so that we can start our own transaction with this legal entity. So this is just a mere step or initial step to register a company into the system. We have just registered the system. Now to complete the setup, we have other setups too that needs to be cover up on a very initial note. Now, if you want to know like what are the mandatory setup that needs to be carried out for completing the legal entity creation into the system, you need to know one more thing on a very first day, that you need to go to one of the form. And what form it is? The form name is general ledger. Okay, now where I can locate this general ledger? So do remember the navigation path is, there will be a module known as general ledger. Ledger, inside general ledger you will get another option as ledger setup, and inside that ledger setup you will be get one form as a ledger. Now let us see how we can go inside that. So what is the step? General ledger, where is that? Let me collapse all to have a clear visibility. General ledger, my second step was ledger setup. This is the ledger setup, and this is the ledger. Now this is the ledger form, and the most important form where all your configuration will be linked all together with your legal entity. Then only you will be able to perform a transaction. Clear? So see, there are different parameters that needs to be configured on a very initial phase. So what are the parameters? So legal entity will be created. So once you create a legal entity, it will be automatically linked up with the ledger page. Okay. So once it is done, you need to configure chart of account. You need to configure fiscal calendar. You need to configure your accounting currency. You need to configure, you don't have to configure any accounting or reporting currency. You need to configure overall a currency. I will show you. Once you have configured your currency, then this accounting and reporting currency can be bifurcated, or you can separate each other with the default currency as per the requirement. Okay. Also there is an exchange rate. If you remember, we have studied about the exchange rate. So you need to configure the exchange rate. Now, these are the things that are mandatory for creation. Account structure is not that mandatory, but it will require if you want to start your transaction. Without account structure, you won't be able to perform any transaction. So, in short note, what are the mandatory steps you need to accomplish for creating a legal entity? So, the answer will be, first we need to create a legal entity, then we need to configure chart of account, fiscal calendar, account currencies, currency exchange rate, and account structure. And all together we need to link up all these elements into a one single unit that is known as ledger. And once we have connected all those units all together, then we can say that our setup has been completed to perform any transaction in a legal entity. So now separately we will see on a very brief note overview how we have created all those things. Although the records are available to you, you can refer to any time, but still today we will see on a very short note how we can do that. My next mandatory step is creating a calendar. So to create a calendar, the navigation you need to follow is general ledger, calendar, fiscal calendar. This is again a three-step navigation process. To create a calendar, you need to know the navigation where this calendar is located. So the navigation path is general ledger, calendar, fiscal calendar. So once you go inside fiscal calendar, what you need to do? You need to click on new calendar. Okay. Since I have already created a new calendar, for this reason this ABC cal is appearing. So let me quickly show you. If you click on new calendar, system will ask you a calendar name. The calendar name will be same as I have depicted here, ABC calendar. Why ABC calendar? Because I have given my company name along with a short form of cal, means calendar. So this name you need to give here, and you need to provide one short description of what about means like a description of like it's a calendar for my ABC company. Okay, in whichever way you use your own language and write it up. Next, you need to provide the date range for which your business will run. Okay, what will be the start of fiscal year and the end of fiscal year? Year means the fiscal year indicates like the tenure where your business will perform a full transaction, full cycle transaction. Okay, likewise, we are having a tenure of, obviously a tenure will be 12 months, but our month will be different. Like for Indian location, we are following April to March, right? From April to next year March. In US, they are following January to December. So based on your country location, you can provide a fiscal year date range in this section, like when your fiscal year is going to be started and when it is going to be ended. So once you provide this particular date, and you need to give your fiscal year name. Now, if it would have been for India, what I would have given 24-25, because my fiscal year is starting from 2024 and ending in 2025. So to make the thing easier, we would have given 24-25. But now, since this is my US based entity and it is strictly following a single year fiscal year, that is from January to December, so it is 2024. Now, in all cases, when you will be creating a calendar, our calendar will be divided into a certain number of periods. Now, this periods will be again depending on the company's requirement, like how they wish to divide the period. Now, some wish to divide the period on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, half-yearly basis, or yearly basis. Now, if it is monthly, what we can see, like in a year we are having a 12 months, so their period will be divided into 12 equal periods. Okay, now if it is quarter, we all know guys, we are having 4 quarters in a year. Okay, so their period will be divided into 4 equal quarter. Like how it will be divided: Jan to March, April to June, July to September, October to December. So these are the 4 quarters: 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 equal quarter. In either of the cases, whichever duration you select, system will accordingly break the periods in such a way that it will be divided accordingly. Okay. Some wish to keep the period divided into a half year. Half year means we are having to, if we are dividing one full year into two, it will be a 2 half year, right? 2 half year means Jan to June, July to December. Am I clear, guys? Now, what is the purpose of this period? Now, let me quickly throw a light on that. Their periods are basically is nothing but the way they want to perform a closing. So apart from year-end closing, we are having an additional closing of for a monthly, for a quarterly, or for a half year. So based on the organization, how they want to perform their in-house closing, or they will divide that particular fiscal year into their respective equal periods. Okay, maybe they are performing, if they are performing a monthly closure, so they will divide the fiscal year into a 12 equal periods. Like their frequency will be 1 and unit will be month, means for each month 12 equal periods will be divided. So for my this existing calendar also, my period has been divided into 12. I can see from period 1 to period 12. Now, in addition to that, you might be having a visibility of two more additional periods, that is period 0 and period 13. So on what context these two additional periods occurs in this particular section? Although we have divided the period into 12 equal months, so what is the requirement for this period 0 as well as for period 13? So there is a very much requirement and there is a very good significance for this particular two periods. Like, let me first tell you why this period 0 is required. Period 0 is required, suppose if you are performing a year-end closing, so there might be some balance which would have left from our previous year. Say for example, we have earned a profit of somewhere around, say for example, 100 rupees, and our net profit was somewhere around 70 rupees. So those 70 will be our profit for that particular year. So what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to carry forward the amount to our next business year or next fiscal year. So we will, what we will be doing, we will transfer the remaining balance, whatever profit we earn, to the next year. So who will help us? This period zero will help us in bringing that balance into this current fiscal calendar. Means in this current fiscal year entirety. Okay. So from previous year, if any balance needs to be transferred to the current year, so this period zero will help us. So this is the use of period zero. It is basically used for transferring balance from previous fiscal period to the current fiscal period. Now, what is the requirement for period 13? Period 13 is used only for closing purpose, right? So, what does this closing means? Like if in any case when your 12 period will be closed down by performing a monthly closure activity, and in the last period before doing a final closure, before freezing everything, if you find out, like if there is any transaction that has been missed out for any period, then this period 13 will help us to post that transaction or to confirm the transaction into the book of accounts into this particular period. Now you can observe that for this reason this period 13 is a special date, that is the last day of that fiscal year. Okay, so if any transaction has been missed out in between, say for example, we have missed out a transaction that was supposed to be posted for period 6. Now, we didn't perform that transaction. Now what we are supposed to do, we are having one option of closing that transaction, or making the balance sheet balance by posting the transaction. What we will do, we will use the period 13, that is the last day of that particular fiscal year, to complete the transaction. So for doing this transaction, for doing those special transaction, period 13 will help us. Okay, so this was all about periods, how we can use it, and we can also break down our period into two. Apart from period zero, we can use any other period to split up the period into two sections. How we can do that? Just select the period. Suppose this is a monthly period. Now if you want to break this period further into two segments, like for 15 days, 15 days, you are having two different period. For a single month period, you can do that thing also. How you can do that? Select the period and click on divide period. So you need to give the next period start, like my period starts from, I think, 1st of January, right? So 1st of January. So if I want to further divide this period, what we can do, I can select this and I will select my next period date is 15th, or say for example 16th. So once I click on 16th and I give the new period name, say for example, just a name for that particular month, it's month 1.5 or 1.1. If I click on divide, what it will do, it will divide the January month into two different sections. See, the January has been divided into two different subsection. Like for 15 days, 15 days, we can have a separate accounting transaction if it is required. Okay, in some cases, what happens, like if we create such thing and later, just on an immediate note, we think like, okay, we don't require this division, so we can again come back and delete this. But once you perform any transaction, there is no way of rolling back to the same period again. Okay, so this should be taken care before posting any transaction. So I don't want this further division. What I will do, I will delete this period. Now check one thing. Since this is the 15 days has been divided, now if I delete this period, again this 15 days will be merged back totally with the period 1, and we will see from 1st of January 2025 to 31st of January 2020, it will merge all together and it will roll back again to the previous configuration that it was done. So we will click on delete and we'll click on yes. So the second half of the month will also be deleted and it will merge all together, and the thing will be rolled back again. Okay. So this was the creation of fiscal calendar. Now there is another separate topic, ledger calendar, but Now this ledger calendar will not work, and means like if your entity would have been fresh, so this ledger calendar would not have worked, means you would not means there would not have any legal entity assigned to this ledger calendar, because ledger calendar has nothing to do with the calendar, but uh, it is used for closing. Let me give you a brief note. Like, although it is a named leisure calendar, but this calendar is used for different purpose. What is the purpose? It will be used for uh, setting permission or provide access to certain modules to a specific users, as well as it is used to close the period accordingly. What does that indicate? Like, whenever we will be completing our period, we need to close down the period, right? So this is what indicates, like, once we perform a monthly closure, so all the transaction has been completed and our balance sheet is okay with that particular month. So what we need to, we need to close the period so that no more transactions should occur in that particular period. So for to close the period, this ledger calendar is used. Also, there will be certain functionality where we need to provide some kind of accessibility to the users. So we will see how we can do that. But before doing those, we need to perform all the mandatory transactions. So ledger calendar was one of fiscal calendar was one of those mandatory transactions. Next comes up, what was the mandatory transaction? After fiscal calendar, we need to create a currency. Okay, so how we can create a currency? Again, same, you have to be in the same module, that is general ledger, currency, currencies. So the good things about dynamic is you don't have to create a currency, although all the currencies will be provided to you by default. So you don't have to bother on that. You just need to check whether all the currencies are available or not just by clicking on it and searching. Say for example, if I want to search for INR, if INR is available or not, I will just select the currency code you need to know, or also you can use Indian rupee, or in any case you just need to provide a certain keyword through which you can search your currencies. So see, neither of the keyword is applicable for searching. Now if I search through my currency code INR, let me search, yes, and INR is applicable. Okay, so INR is available in this currency set, so we don't have to think about this currency part. So currency will be created automatically. Now if you want to make any certain changes to that, you can also do that. Now say for example, I want my organization to work with the USD, so we will select the USD, and we can use some kind of small configuration, like the symbol is there, dollar sign. We can use this dollar sign. And for online numeric conversion tool, what we can do, we can enable this conversion, and we need to click on edit first, and need to enable this conversion. And there will be two parameters like prefix and suffix. Prefix and suffix is nothing like the way we used to write our currencies. For example, in Indian rupees, what we need to do, we write first RS, then the amount, then this. So this is the structure we use in our Indian standard. So in USD also, for prefix, what you can do, you can use the dollar sign, and suffix is nothing. So whenever the amount will be come up, it will start with dollar, then the amount number. Okay. So click on save. So once you click on save, it will save. And if you want to change your anything in INR, if you are working with INR, then only you have to do that. Otherwise, you can leave it blank. Okay. Now, once the currencies are developed, you need to have a two concept. Okay. In terms of currencies in dynamic standard, we follow two currencies, two types of currencies. That is accounting currency, reporting currency. So guys, just give me 5 minutes. I will be quickly back again. I have something important to look after. Okay, just give me 5 minutes. I am pausing this recording for 5 minutes, and I will again come back. Hi guys, I'm back. Thank you for being patient. So let us go back to our topic again. So what were we discussing? We were discussing about the currencies. Okay, so in dynamic standard we maintain two types of currencies. One is accounting currency and one is reporting currency. Now what does this accounting currency means? Accounting currency is nothing but the local currency where your uh, local currency, it indicates like it is where your legal entity is residing. Okay, say for example, if your legal entity is based out in India, so our primary currency will be INR, that is Indian rupee. Okay, so this Indian rupee through which we will be transacting, although if our business deals on international prospects, so we will be using different types of currencies in some other cases. Okay, so in most of the cases what we will do, we will be using our own currencies only, that is INR. So in this case, the currency with which we will be transacting, or we will be performing our transactions throughout, is known as accounting currency. Done. So this was a simple thing, and for the detail you can refer to my recorded videos that has been provided to you guys, which has been uploaded. So it was just a brief note to remind you all that what is accounting currency. Accounting currency is nothing but the currency with which we will be performing our transactions. Okay. And what about reporting currency? Now, for reporting currency, there is a separate case. Now, suppose for example, your head office is in India, and suppose this office has opened another branch in USA. Okay, branch office is in USA. Okay, now what it will happen, like the case will be something different. So since my head office is based out in India, I will be dealing with an INR. Very true. If it is in USA, this individual branch office will be dealing with all those transactions based out in US or throughout the globe. Doesn't matter where it operates, but since this branch office is sitting in USA, so their primary currency will be US, right? As per accounting currency definition, wherever your entity is located, that local currency will be applicable to all those transactional offices. So now this branch office needs to send their report to India, just because head office is located in India, right? So every month branch office needs to perform some reconciliation process, like calculating or mapping their ledger account with the bank account, and if all the transactions are okay, or whatever be the result, or whatever be the transactional report, or the ledger report is, they need to send it to their own head office, right? So to now what it will happen, since their transactions are all recorded in USD, but being a head office, they are maintaining all the records in INR. So to convert the language from USD to INR, we use reporting currency. Okay. Now in that case, reporting currency will act as a INR for this branch office, and okay. Now what will be the reporting currency for this head office? It should be USD only. And for this branch office, if someday head office needs to send in a report to branch office, then they need to convert the reporting currency, right? They will be converting it to INR. Means this indicates like if my branch office is receiving any transactional report from India, so this INR needs to be converted to USD, right? So I need to specifically mention like what is the reporting currency my branch office is reporting to me. Okay, so in that case, we can configure the reporting currency. For the time being, let us assume that our entity is located only in US. So my accounting currency will be USD and my reporting currency will be blank. Fine. So once currency is done, we need to configure the exchange rate. Why exchange rate? Because what happens is like we need to convert, because we are dealing with international trades, we are performing some kind of international trades. So based on that, we need to define some exchange rate as per the list of standard defined in our own country or the country where the entity belongs to. Okay, so as per US standard, they will be having some kind of mutual exchange rate list where India will be agreeing upon it. So based on their mutual transaction, they will be preparing one list from the government, so which we need to take care of, and accordingly we need to also configure those exchange rates so that while performing a transaction, if we perform any transaction from INR to USD or USD to INR, so those proper exchange rates should get applicable to our own transaction so that everyone can operate with their own transaction, own currency language. Say, for example, if India is purchasing some raw material from US, so India will be paying through INR, but in what context the US entity will be receiving the money? The US entity should receive the money in USD only. So while performing the transaction, this INR should be converted to USD. So to convert the INR, we need to use some kind of exchange rate. Okay. So for this purpose, we require exchange rate. So it's just a brief note again. So how we can configure that exchange rate? We need to go to general ledger, collapse all, currencies. Here will be currency exchange rates. But before currency exchange rate, you need to define what type of exchange rate it should be. So click on it. Say for example, for our entity AB01, we can create any of exchange rate type that will be only specific to my company. I can do that. How I can do that? I need to click on new. I can give exchange rate as ABC exchange rate, and I can give the same name as by default. And once I have defined the exchange rate type, I need to go to exchange rate. So there are two possibilities. Either you can just come out from this page and go to this general ledger module again, currencies, and click on this currency exchange rate, or you can directly jump into the currency exchange rate page from here only. Okay, so once you create your own exchange rate, you need to keep select this exchange rate, like the exchange rate that you have selected, it should be selected, and you need to click on this exchange rate. So once you click on it, in this page only you need to create your own exchange. How you can do that? You need to click on new, and you need to define from which currency to which currency you want to convert. Say for example, I want to convert from USD to INR, and the conversion factor should be 1 in it, like for every 1 USD how much INR should be applicable. So here you need to define it. How you can define it? You need to click on add. So once you click on add, you need to define a range for which your exchange rate will be valid. Say for example, from 1st of January to 31st of December means the validity of my exchange rate. Within this range, the number of exchange rate I will defining will be valid for this particular date range. Okay. Now how I can do that? After defining the date, you need to click on it, not before that. So once you click on it, you need to provide a start date. Say for example, since my fiscal year starts from 1/1/2024, say for example on 1st of January 2024, my exchange rate for 1 USD was somewhere around 84 rupees, say for example. Now again, you can click on add. You can define another date as some, for example, although exchange rate changes every day. So if you want to change it hypothetically, I'm just changing it. Say for example, on 13th of March again, my exchange rate has been updated to 85. So in this way, you can create a range of exchange rate that will be applicable for each day. Now, how this exchange rate is going to be applied? Just see. Now, on 1st of January, since it has already been defined as 84, so on the very next day, that is 2nd of January, same rate exchange rate will be applicable. Until when? Until 12th of March 2024. And when we will be jumping on to the 13th of March 2024, that day exchange rate will be revised to 85. So from that day onwards, 85 rupees will be applicable till when? Till 31st of December 2024, because I have not defined any more exchange rate in between. So generally, we do not do all this manual configuration specifically for exchange rate. What those technical guy will do, they will create some kind of linkage between bank and their system, and this exchange rate will be run in a batch processing, where batch processing means in the background only. So every day, new exchange rate will define, and whatever transaction we perform, so those transaction will be applied with this exchange rate. Okay, now let me go back and let me not save it because it will impact my current configuration. So once you create the exchange rate, now the next thing comes in. You need to go to general ledger page.
Anyway, team drill, but the field is not set for that delivery. Let's just
Ledger
take a look
setup,
at the field. Three on the leg side,
ledger.
square.
So once you click on ledger, what you need to do, you need to link up. What are the things? Calendar. As I've created calendar, I will be linking up calendar. Currency, accounting currency, whatever accounting currency I do have, whatever reporting currency I might be having, whatever exchange rate I will be having, all these things. Now the last configuration required to do is the chart of account. Now what is the chart of account? This was the last topic I guess we have discussed in our last class. Just a second, guys. So before knowing chart of account, let me give a brief introduction of general ledger. Okay. Now, why do we require general ledger? So this is a general ledger only. So we are configuring till now the currencies, the exchange rate, everything. Okay. But what is the purpose of this general ledger? Now, why on earth I should be using general ledger? So you should know that why I required general ledger for my or for any company, whoever is approaching to us. So there are some module depends upon the client requirement whether we wanted to use it or not. Okay, and then that we can take decisions. Say for example, if client is asking for this module, we can use it, otherwise we don't want to use it. But without client requirement, we have to decide that general ledger module is required for every company. Understood? Like whether client requires it or not, we need to take a decision like, okay, yes, general ledger has some functionality which is a must requirement for a company to start a transaction. Whether he or she requires it or not doesn't matter, but it should be mandatorily implemented into the system along with the other requirement for which client is asking for. Okay, because what happens is like all the primary basic configuration will be available in this particular module. Of course, we have seen like what are the primary basic configuration. Calendar is obvious a requirement. Currency is a requirement. Exchange rate has a requirement. So all these are primary basic requirement that is available in our this general ledger module, like what is a chart of account, what is calendar, what is exchange rate we are using for a company. Okay, what are the currencies we will be using or we are using, and what is the entry, like entry posting. So ledger account, debit account, credit account, everything we have to maintain in this general ledger module. So these are the basic for any kind of transaction posting. Okay, so that is why without client requirement also we have to have this step as a primary and mandatory step to be taken care of. So general ledger can be described as a you can define it as a diary note. So all the information we are going to discuss in this particular module, so this is completely related to the entry. Okay, entry posting. Now what kind of entry it should be? It might be a debit entry, it might be a credit entry. What are the financial information of a company? Everything we are going to store it in a general ledger module. So the first step which is required in a general ledger module is creating a chart of accounts. Now what is a chart of accounts? Chart of account is nothing but how I can describe you, like a chart of account is required to maintain the financial information of a legal entity. Okay, so what does this chart of account defines? Chart of account is required to maintain the financial information of the company. So what do you mean by by this term financial information? So as I told you, when I start a business, I should have a motive that I should get a profit from my business. So whenever I will be starting a business, so how can I get a profit, or how can I conclude that my business is running a profit? So every month I am purchasing and doing sales, right? So whenever I am purchasing, my purchase value should be less than my sale value. Okay. Or in other words, my sale value should be greater than a purchase value. Then only I can say it is in a profit. Okay. So say for example, I purchased for 15,000 and I sold it for 25,000. Now what is the difference? The difference is straightforwardly 10,000. So 10,000 of profit, I got it. So this kind of calculations, when can I do it? Like when can I do such kind of calculations? Like I have a purchase value of 15,000, I have a sale value of 25,000, right? So if I have all the related information in my ERP application, so that I can evaluate and I can find out how much my purchase, how much my sales, and what is the difference and the profit, I can say it is a 10,000, correct? So all this information, like what is the sale value, what is the purchase value, so all these small terms together, it is known as a financial information of a legal entity. So this chart of account is very much required for every company to know the financial information of the company. Okay, so directly this chart of account will be holding all those small details, like what is the purchase value, what is the sale value, and it will be maintained separately in a specific account from where we can extract all those information and we can define our business whether it is running a profit or it is running a loss. Okay, so for this reason our chart of account is very much important. So quickly, let us see how we can create a chart of account. So you need to navigate to, first of all, a parent module that is known as general ledger. Collapse all if everything is open. Go to chart of account, click on account, and then chart of account. So it's a four-step navigation if I'm not wrong. General ledger, chart of account, and this chart of accounts. So once you click on chart of accounts, you will see a list of chart of accounts that is available for the entire system. Okay, since this is a global page, you will be having a n number of chart of accounts in the list. So you don't have to bother about all the thing. These are all specific chart of accounts related to a specific country. Now, if you wish to use a chart of account from the existing one, you need to know how your business is running. Now, if those requirement is parallelly matching with all the chart of account that has been defined into this system, you can certainly use that. Otherwise, you can create your new one. So how you can create that? You need to click on new. Okay, so once you click on new, this main account page will not be available, means it will be blank, and the two option will be only available, that is the chart of accounts. You need to give a name. So I have given a chart of account name for my company, that is ABC COA, and you need to provide a description, ABC chart of account. So once you provide all the this two information, you need to click on save, and your chart of account will be created. Okay, so in that way our first step will be completed by creating the chart of account. But this is just I have created a chart. Now what should be my second step in general ledger? My second step will be creating main accounts. Okay, now what is main accounts? Do you remember? Main account is nothing but a ledger account only. Okay, main account is nothing but it is a ledger account only, which will help to post the debit and credit accounts in the system. Okay, so how it is going to help us to post credit and debit transaction? Before knowing this operation, what you need to know, you need to know one more definition. Okay, I think previously I missed it, so it was a good that we did a recap. So you need to know the definition of a ledger in terms of Dynamics 365. Although you might be knowing in terms of accounting terminology, since you are a commerce background candidate, but in terms of Dynamics 365, what is a ledger? The ledger is nothing but a register of all debit and credit entries, and these entries are classified using the main accounts that are listed in the chart of accounts. Okay, so what is ledger? Ledger is nothing but a register of all debit and credit entries, and these entries will be classified using the main accounts. That means there will be a different specific main accounts for each different type of transactions or the category of transaction we will be performing, which will be again listed under a chart of account, which indicates that our second step is to create a main account. And where we can create a main account, we will be creating a main account under chart of accounts only. Okay, so how we can create a main account? So to create a main account, you need to know there are four different main account types. Actually there are six. Okay, but there are two types which we will hardly use for any kind of transactions. So first one is asset, second one is liability, third one is expense, fourth one is revenue or income, whichever you say. Fifth one is reporting, sixth one is total. Okay, so these are the six different types of main account. types. Like you can create a main account and you can classify those main accounts into the 6 types. So for transactional purpose, like if you want to carry out any transaction, you can use only this 4 main account type. And for generating any kind of report, if you want to specify any main account, you can use this too. We will see slowly how we can utilize those accounts as per our requirement. Okay, so we will be creating 6 different main account types. Now, what is the why there is a requirement of main account basically? Okay, now let us understand with an example. Suppose there are two departments, finance and operation. There is a person called Shiva K in finance department, and there is another person called Shiva K. Both are different person, but they are having a same name. Now, in generally, what will happen if I want to make a transaction from finance department to operation? How I can do that? Or let us say this Shiva K exists here in operation only. Okay, this first Shiva has claimed a travel expense. Okay, this second Shiva has nothing to do with anything. He is just sitting idle in the operation department. Okay, we won't be doing anything with him. Now, from finance, this travel expense has to be reimbursed. Okay. Now, finance department will do a certain type of transaction, like from finance department, payment will be going to ops department for Shiva. But there are problem. There is a problem, major problem, very big problem. Now there are two Shiva. If I do not have any additional information about Shiva K or any unique identification about Shiva K, how am I going to complete this transaction? Big problem. Since there are two Shiva K to whom I will pay. Which Shiva has claimed the travel expenses? There has to be a certain uh, unique number, right? So to overcome this obstacle, what Dynamics has did, they have created a concept of this main account, where all the main account will be created with a unique identity number. Cool. So there won't be any naming convention in this particular system. Everything will be carried out in terms of unique identification number. Okay, which is indirectly a main account number. So to create any main account number, we need to define a range of number that will be applicable to that main account. Now, to define this account number, you have the flexibility to define in any pattern. Like some used to define it in a 5-digit note. How 5 digit? Like they will be starting from 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10,000. Some design in such a way like 6 digit for 6 digit, like they will be designing it in 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this number will indicate the main account number for a specific account. We will be tagging the main account name with this number, so that while doing any transaction, this name will not appear in any of the transactional list. Okay, only this account number will appear, so that we can track those transactions based on this unique account number. So to define this main account, what we need to do, we need to first of all categorize how we should create a main account. Like obviously Dynamics has asked us to create the main account based on this four types. So for example, if I want to create for the first type, that is the asset main type. Okay, asset type main account. So how I am going to start? Let's say for example, I have decided I will be using a 6-digit main account number. So I will be starting off with one with the 50 appended to it. So this will be my first account for first asset type category main account. Okay, and I will be accordingly creating all the main accounts as per my requirement. Now I can say that this 1 lakh is account number for header asset. So this header asset will not be used for any transaction, but it will be used as a header level. While generating a report, this asset will be appearing in the uh, report line. Now, what are the accounts that might be applicable for transactions? So this is a basic concept, like whatever will be the asset you will be having in your organization. Say for example, I am having an asset of building. I have my own building, okay, for office. Then I might be having furnitures. I might be having machineries. I might be having computers. Likewise, there are different asset that will be applicable for your organization. Also, your bank account is another asset. If there is any cash account, cash account means the liquid expenses we carry out in our branches, the miscellaneous expenses for which head office distribute a lump sum amount every month to our branch office to running the branch. That account can be maintained as a cash account or a petty cash account. Specifically, I don't know, like for India, it is used as a treasury account. Okay, like whenever we will be traveling locally from one place to another, we will be reimbursing the local travel expenses. So we can just directly hit up to the finance department and ask the treasury person to reimburse my local transport bill. So what the person will do, they will just open up their cash account, and from there you will be receiving some 500 or 600 bucks as a local transport for that particular day. So to maintain those accounts, you need to create one separate main account for that also, that will be indicating as a cash account. So individually, what will happen for this building, I will tag one main account number such as 1 lakh 1. For furniture, what I can do, I can also give as 1 2 3 4 2. For machineries, what I can do, I can provide main account number as 1 1 2 3 4 3. Means I will chronologically maintain the order of my main account number. In that way, the number of main accounts I will be having for this asset category, I will be allotting some spaces to create more main accounts in near future. Okay. Say for example, I will be defining a range for asset from 1 lakh to 1,99,999, which means 1 lakh space has been kept in between for this asset category, so that the more asset account we will be requiring in near future, we can add those accounts into our system, because we have kept the provision of adding our main account number till 1,99,999. And outmost thing what we can do after assigning all the main account number chronologically in either of the possible way as per your requirement. It is not necessary that you have to give building in the first place and cash account in the last section. You can also give cash account in the first section and building accordingly as it is as per your wish. Okay, and this defining the main account number, it's totally depend upon you how you design it. I personally design in such a way because it is very easy to track each of the main account. In the last section, what you can do, you can create another main account as total and assigned a number 1,99,999, where all the asset account, whatever asset account will be available in my asset category, all the sum total of this account will be summing up into this main total account. For that, for each category, I will be creating total at the end. Rest of the numbers I will be leaving it blank, or I will be keeping it up on a provisional note so as to create any of the main account in near future if required for. Likewise, I will be defining same liabilities account. Okay. Now, since I have finished up my asset range from 1 lakh to 1 lakh 99,000, I can continue the serial number from 2 lakh to 2,99,999. In same pattern, I will be creating liabilities account. Now, what are the liabilities account? Let us see. I have created few in my system. So, liability means you need to pay off at some point of time to your stakeholders or to some other person from which you will be borrowing anything. So, see what I did. I have created an asset account from a range of 1 lakh. So, this asset is a header account or the header main account, which will be used only for reporting. Again, I have divided the asset into two different assets, that is fixed asset and current asset. So what are the fixed assets? All the assets that are fixed in nature, that is building, furniture, computer, machineries. So I have divided those main accounts into the fixed asset. So fixed asset is again a reporting purpose. You cannot perform any transaction using this fixed asset. It will be used only for reporting purpose. Like to generate a report, on the header line, this fixed asset will appear. That's it. But if you want to perform any transaction using a fixed asset, you can use this buildings. Like you have procured any building, you can debit this account using any of your credit account, that one building has been debited and one building has been procured on the same list. Same, if you purchase any furniture, you can debit this account. Similarly, computer machineries. Now, in current asset, this is again a header level main account. So I've kept it for a reporting purpose. And similarly, current asset will be inventory vehicles. Like vehicles will be, it will be current, right? It will be movable. Like every time any sale will be done, we will be selling your vehicles only. So your vehicles will be sold out, and again you will be bringing up the vehicle from your factory, manufactured vehicles. So this is a current asset. So current asset means it's a movable one. And the inventory spare parts. Suppose you are selling an additional spare part for your vehicle also. So again, this is again a movable spare parts. You will be selling it out continuous throughout your business process. Some kind of consumable things. And this petty cash means in this cash account, your cash will, you will bring out some cash, and again you will be expensing out from this account. So this will be a asset. Okay. Similarly, your bank account will be again a current asset, since the amount will be just coming and moving out from your account. So for this reason, this two petty cash and bank account is falling under current asset. Now there are some account, that is debtors. Debtors means customer balance. It is an asset. So for liabilities, again you can see what are the liability categories I have created. Equity capital, vendors payables, if something we need to pay to the vendor, like if we purchase any raw material. Creditors local, creditors foreign. So these are some kind of accounts which I have taken reference from internet, and I have created this account for my transaction purpose. Third category is expenses. What I have created in expense, rent expenses, if I need to pay any rent, if there is any transportation charges for my business to run, if there is any interest payable, if I need to pay employee salary every month. So these are all coming under expense category. Realized gain loss I will explain later. Travel expenses, if there is any employee traveling throughout, so we need to bear the expense of that employee. So all those expenses related to travel will be debited into this account. Okay, so all the account that are defining it, so that is rent expense means if we are paying any rent, so all those transaction that is related to rent only will be debited into this account. Okay. And lastly, the revenue main account. So revenue means whenever we will be selling out our asset, we will be receiving some, we will be having some kind of financial gain, like we will be receiving money. So how we are going to do that? Like we are selling a vehicle, so all those vehicle that has been sold out will be registered in this main account. We will be recording those transaction in this sale vehicle main account. If you are selling a spare parts, we have not mixed it up together, we have created two different account to see the sales of two different product. If we are selling any accessories, again that for different main account I have created. If there is any rental income, suppose we have leased out any of our product and we are receiving some kind of revenue from that particular product that we have leased out on a monthly basis, so that we can consider it out as a rental income, and we can register all those, or debit all those transaction into that rental account. And finally, if we receive any other income, we can register into the same. So in that way, what we can do, we can create a main account. Okay, so this was the last topic that we have covered up in our last session. Now I will be clearing out one more additional topic today, and then we will continue next from our next session. So while creating a new account, new main account, how we can create it? We need to click on new. So once we click on new, a new form will open up. So here you need to provide the main account number. Okay, so this is the main account number we have given, like 1 lakh. So I've given this 1 lakh as a main account number. Now this 1 lakh, as I remember, this asset is a reporting type. Main account type means it will be used only for reporting purpose. So how we can define that? Say for example, I will be not saving it, just to show you guys how I have created it. For 1 lakh I will be using 1 lakh as a main account number. What was the name? It was the asset. In the main account type, you need to define what type of account it is. So here you can see there are different types of main account: profit loss, revenue, expense, balance sheet, asset, liability, equity, total. So forget about this balance sheet and common and profit loss. I will tell you later what significance does it play in this creating a main account. Now, first of all, this is my asset account type. I will provide asset. Okay. Or most importantly, this is an asset account, but what role it will play in types of defining a main account. So basically it will be a this account will be used for reporting purpose. Okay, so this main account will be used for reporting purpose. For that reason only I have used main account type as reporting. Now in this reporting type, there will be three different types of reporting: header, empty header, page header. Now I will be using it as a header, means throughout my entire report, this main account will be acting as a header line for reporting purpose. Okay. So once you provide this information, click on save, your account will be created. Now, if I want to create a transactional main account, what I will do, I will define the main account number here only. Say for example, how I have created this building, I will show you. I have used this account 110010. I have given the name as buildings. Okay, it will not allow me to create once again. I will just click on the same main account and I will show you how it has been created. See, I have clicked on this edit option. Means a new option. This form has appeared. I have provided this number 110010, and in the main account naming section, I have provided the name as a building, and in the main account type, I have defined this main account as a asset type main account. Okay. Now, once I define it as an asset type main account, what system will understand that this is an asset type main account, and it is you and it will be used for a transactional purpose. So in that way I have created all these main accounts. Okay, so once you create this main account, there are other options too that you need to take care of. So earlier in my last session, I have concluded our classes till defining this, how you can create a main account using this three options: main account number, main account name, main account type, as well as reporting type. Now, what are the other options indicating? You can see this debit and credit default. Now, when you will be performing any transaction, okay, so there will be a line transaction. I will show you. It will indicate, or the system will give you a hint that if you are using this main account, you need to debit an amount for this particular account category. Means there will be a provision to enter an amount in a debit column, so automatically your cursor will be placed in a debit column. Let me show you quickly how the transaction line appears. You don't have to bother like how all these things on earth is happening. You just see what I am trying to show you. Okay, let me go to the transactional page, so you can do some miscellaneous transaction from general ledger account. Where is it? G General ledger, journal entries, general journal. Okay, so once you go inside general journal, you need to create some journal. I will define you what is journal in my next session. So you need to define a journal that indicates that I am doing some kind of miscellaneous transaction. So once you uh, um, tag your journal name into this journal line, you need to go inside the line where you will be creating your actual transaction. So once you go inside a line, you will see a transaction line is appearing. What does that indicate? This is the transactional date on which you will be performing a transaction. This is a transaction number. Indirectly, it is also known as voucher number. For which company you are performing a transaction? It is my own company, that is AB01. And this account type is ledger. Now, what this ledger indicates? Ledger, as I have defined you in this section, it is nothing but a register where you will be posting all the debit and credit entries. Now, account type is ledger. Now you need to select the ledger account. Now, what ledger account I am supposed to select? I am supposed to select a asset account. Say for example, I was defining with a building, right? So if I want to perform any transaction using building, say for example, for building, I have purchased one building, or I have acquired one building for Hyderabad location, and if I leave other thing as blank, okay, this is the definition. Like if we are selecting it in this particular way, what it will define, I have selected a building main account because I am going to acquire one building for Hyderabad location, and that record will be recorded into this particular main account. So since this is a debital transaction, what it will indicate, I need to do the debit transaction here only. Okay, so it will give us a hint that this is a debit account. You need to perform a debit transaction. Now below that debit and credit requirement, what you can do, if you are selecting anything as debit, now what system will indicate, or what system will hint you that you need to forcefully debit this account. Now instead of debit, if you are intentionally using this credit column, system will throw an error telling that you cannot perform a credit transaction for this particular line, since this particular because the main account which is associated with this particular ledger has been used for debit only. Okay, means it will forcefully ask you to perform a debit transaction only. But if you are not selecting anything, means if you leave this parameter blank, it will give you a hint that this is a debitable transaction, you have to debit it, but you don't have the restriction to perform. You can also do the credit into this main account. So for this reason, these two options are available. Okay, Now, balance control is something which we will learn in a later stage. Like if you want to control your balance, like for example, basically this balance control is used for cash account or bank account only. Means you can perform a transaction using your cash account only when you have a sufficient balance into that main account. If there is no sufficient amount, you won't be able to perform any transaction. And how you can set or how you can define that rule? By giving the debit or credit option. Like for expense account, we will be crediting out from that expense account only, so we will be always using credit option for those expense account, not in the asset account. So asset account will be always left as a blank. So we will see in very detail how balance control will work. Now there is another provision of do not allow manual entry. What it indicates, like if I select this particular option and I save it, now what magic it will create in our transaction is like our the system won't allow us to perform any transaction using this particular main account on a manual note. Okay, so these are the options which we use somewhere related to bank account. Okay, so we will link a main account as an offset account for a particular bank account. Means whenever we will be performing an external transaction with the bank, so all the records that are being performed externally will get automatically record into one of the main account. So for those reason, to provide any discrepancies or provide any mystical transaction, we will be restricting any user to perform any manual entry to that particular specific main account. Okay, so that those users are barred from directly using those main account. Those main account will be only accountable for automatic transaction that will be linked to any of our main bank account. So we will see later on. This is just a brief note. I won't be going it into details because there will be a separate topic for this. So once you click on this do not allow manual entry, I will show you what impact it will make. Let me click on a new journal. Let me select a journal, go inside lines. Now, despite of this setting, if I forcefully try to perform any transaction using this main account, what it will do? Let us see. Everything will be same. I need to select the account as a main account. For which account? 110010. If I select this main account, see an error is occurring. Now let me leave this as a blank. What error message is showing? Value 110010 is not allowed for manual entry. Okay, means we won't be allowed to select in either possible way this specific main account. We are not at all allowed to select the specific main. We can select any other main account but not this account, because in the main account setting only we have maintained a provision that this main account should not be applicable for manual entry. So for the time being, I will remove this validation and I will carry on. This two option, active from active to, what this indicate? This indicates the validity of this main account. Now, if you provide any date, means like from today date till 30th of June, what it will indicate, like after 30th of June, this main account will not be available. It will expire because I have given the validity range for this particular main account. So we can also use this validation. Like sometimes user asks us that you provide a validation of 1 year for this particular main account. Like after 1 year, this main account should get expired. We will create another new account. Then we will perform such validation. Now in all of a sudden, if user jumps into your head and asks you that we don't want this main account, we want to immediately stop the transaction for this particular main account. Means if any user is trying to perform any kind of transaction from this main account, we won't be using it. Means we should not allow them to use it. What we will do, we will simply suspend it. Okay. Although we can restrict them from using this particular option, but actually this option has some different set of meaning. So we will not be using this option for that particular reason. We will be directly using the suspend option. Okay. Now if you are suspending this main account, you need to remember, or you need to check, or you need to validate that there might be some balance that might be left over uh, for the last transaction that has been carried out for this particular. So you need to transfer all those balances to other main account. So where you need to do, you can select that main account from this location only. So where do you want to transfer those balance, whether you need to shift it to the capital account or you need to shift it to the balance account. Okay. So once you select that, you need to mention that account number here, so that that balance gets transferred automatically after performing the suspend operation for this particular main account. Okay. For the time being, I won't be doing I won't be doing all those transactions, so I will be not using this feature. Okay. Now comes the currency part. Now default currency will be the accounting currency only, which we will be using in our virtual line. See, so when we are creating a transactional line, our accounting currency will appear automatically, that is USD, since we have tagged USD as our accounting currency. Now if you want to perform this transaction with any other currency, like for every time you create a transaction other than USD, separate means like any other currency should appear. How you can do that? You can use this option, like the default currency. You can select any other currency. Say for example, I am using it as a UAE dirham and I am saving it. Now what happens is, like, if I create a transaction line here, let us see if it brings up that dirham currency or not. No, it is not bringing up, because this journal is already created before we perform that configuration. So we need to create entirely a new journal to make or to see any changes. So let me delete this and let me create a new one. So once I click on new, I need to select a journal name. I need to go inside the lines. Let us see now if this is applicable or not. No, it is not coming up. There might be something which we have not. Yeah, what we did mistake is, like, we have not configured this section validate currency code. We need to make it required. So once you make it required, then only these changes will be applicable. Okay, other than that, your default currency will be overriding every time you create a new currency, although you will be setting up it as a AED. But since you have kept it optional, for this reason only USD was coming up every time. Now if you are link means, like, if you are validating with the required option, what it will do, it will bring up the UAE dirham. So let us see once again. Let us create a new journal. Let us go inside lines. Hopefully, no. There might be some problem with this configuration. Let us see. We'll see that later. But in some cases, what it happens, like, this AED will appear in this journal line. Okay. Once you select and once you configure this particular currency location. Now, foreign currency revaluation is something we will discuss later. It is something related to unrealized gain and loss, and indirectly it will link up with your exchange rate type. So we will see that later. Coming to legal entity override. Now, suppose if you wish to hide this main account with some other legal entity, means, in short, if you don't want any other legal entity to use this account, what you can do, you can simply add your legal entity here. Say for example, since I don't have any other legal entity at this moment created, you can select that legal entity and you can check this suspend box. So once you click on suspend, so that legal entity will not be means this main account will not be visible for that particular legal entity until and unless this has been shared with them. Okay. Now there is another option known as posting validation, means like you can allocate a user to use this particular main account. So how you can do that, you can select the user id from this account list, means the system admin guy will be creating all the users whenever you will be joining any organization. So you can select any of the user from this user list and assign that user to that particular main account, so that specifically that user will be only applicable to handle this main account, and if you leave it blank, all the user will have the access to this particular main account. So in real time what happens is like we provide some kind of validation, like we assign a specific main account to a specific person so that that person is only eligible to use that particular main account. Okay. Rest other things we won't be touching it up. So in this section, so this is the total configuration which you need to perform for a particular main account. So likewise in that way you have to configure all this main account as I have shown you in this general tab and legal entity as well as posting validation tab. Okay. So today we will be winding up our session with this topic only, and in the next session we will see how we can do some other configuration and how we can proceed further. Okay. So thank you very much, guys. We will meet again in the next topic.